We are officially less than a month away from election night, and the race for the presidency remains incredibly close. It's a true toss-up at this point. If we look at Polymarket, which is a prediction market, they're giving Donald Trump a 50-1 chance of winning, which means that if the election were held 100 times, Trump would win 52 of those times. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, has a 47 chance, meaning she'd win 47 out of 100 times. That leaves around a chance for something totally unpredictable or out of the ordinary to happen. These odds reflect just how close this race is and how unpredictable it could be. Now, these overall odds are not just some arbitrary numbers. They are directly tied to how each candidate is expected to perform in the key battleground states. These are the states that will truly decide who wins the election, and Polymarket has individual markets for each of these states as well. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the odds for each of these battleground states and also provide my own analysis on why the odds are where they are. Keep in mind that prediction markets like Polymarket can often be more accurate than traditional polls. While polls show us a snapshot of public opinion at a specific point in time, prediction markets reflect the consensus of people who have a financial stake in the outcome. These are people who are literally betting on the result, so they have a strong incentive to get it right. As a result, these markets often give a more grounded and realistic forecast of what's likely to happen. So let's start by looking at the so-called safe states, the ones where either Trump or Harris has a better than 95 chance of winning. For Kamala Harris, the Pacific Blue Wall is expected to hold strong for the 9th consecutive election cycle. States like Washington and Oregon, California, and Hawaii are all firmly in the Democratic column. These states have been voting Democratic for years, and nothing suggests that they're going to flip in this election. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. In addition to these West Coast states, Harris also has a firm grip on Colorado, which has been trending left faster than almost any other state. Then there's Illinois, another stronghold for the Democrats in the Midwest. Moving up to the Northeast, Harris has a lock on states like New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland. Each of these states went for Biden by at least 15 percentage points in 2020, so they're considered very safe for Harris in this election. Harris is also expected to win Maine's 1st congressional district and, of course, the District of Columbia. D.C. is so reliably Democratic that there isn't even a market for it. Democrats have never lost D.C. by less than 50 points, so that one is a sure bet. On Trump's side, he has his own set of safe states. He's almost guaranteed to win in North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. These are all deep red states that have been solidly Republican for decades. Trump also has Nebraska's statewide election and his 1st and 3rd congressional districts locked down. Other safe Republican states include Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and South Carolina. Finally, we have Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia, all of which are solidly in Trump's column. In 2020, Trump carried each of these safe states by at least 15 points, and it doesn't look like much has changed to threaten his hold on them. Now, if we fill in the electoral map with these safe states, we see that Kamala Harris jumps out to an early lead with 191 electoral votes compared to Trump's 122. That leaves 225 electoral votes still up for grabs in 17 states that are more competitive and still very much in play. These battleground states will be the ones that determine who wins the election. Next, let's take a look at the likely states. These are states where one candidate has an 80 to 95 chance of winning. So while they strongly favor one candidate, there's still a small chance for an upset. For Harris, one of the key states in this category is Minnesota, which is the home state of her running mate, Tim Walz. Minnesota has gone blue in every presidential election since 1976. And if Harris holds it, this would mark the 13th consecutive cycle where Minnesota votes Democratic. Biden won Minnesota by 7 points in 2020. And right now, the markets give Harris a 92 chance of winning the state. However, I think that might be a little too optimistic. Given the current polling, the average of the last few polls shows Harris leading by less than 5 points, with some polls putting her lead as low as 3 points. Personally, I would rate her chances closer to 80, which would put Minnesota in the lean category rather than like. Another state that's likely to go blue is New Mexico. Biden won New Mexico by 11 points in 2020, and Harris is currently seen as the heavy favorite with a 92 chance of winning. This seems about right, as Harris is leading by more than 8 points in the polling average, and 2 of the last 4 polls show her with double-digit leads. Harris is also expected to win Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, which gives Democrats a single electoral vote from the Omaha-based district. Even though Nebraska as a whole is a deep red state, Biden flipped this district by 6.5 points in 2020 and has been trending left due to the growing number of college-educated voters in the area. Virginia is another state that's likely to go for Harris. Virginia went for Biden by double digits in 2020, and while the race has been a bit more competitive than expected this cycle, Harris still holds a lead of about 4.8 in the polling average. The betting markets give her an 88 chance of winning Virginia, which feels about right based on the data we have. Finally, we have New Hampshire and Maine. These are the only somewhat competitive states in an otherwise deep blue New England region. But Biden still won New Hampshire by 7 points and Maine by 9 in 2020. The polling suggests that Harris will hold both states by similar margins, and the markets are giving her a strong chance in both. Now that we've covered Harris's likely states, let's look at Trump's. Alaska is the first state on this list. Trump is almost certain to win here, with the odds giving him a 91 chance. Although his margin in 2020 was the narrowest for a Republican in decades, Alaska hasn't gone blue in 60 years. So it's safe to say that Trump will win the state again in 2024. In the Midwest, Iowa and Ohio are both likely to stay in Trump's column. These states used to be key bellwethers, voting for Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012, but they've swung hard to the right in recent years. Trump won both by at least 8 points in 2016 and 2020. And the markets are giving him a 93 chance of winning Iowa and a 92 chance of winning Ohio in 2024. Trump is also expected to win Maine's 2nd congressional district, which is one of the most rural and whitest districts in the country. He carried it by 7 points in 2020, and the markets are giving him an 82 chance of winning it again. Moving down south, Florida is another state that's leaning heavily toward Trump. Florida has been a quintessential swing state for years, but has been moving more and more to the right. Trump won Florida by 3.4 points in 2020, and the markets are giving him an 86 chance of winning it again in 2024. Finally, there's Texas, which is the 2nd largest prize on the electoral map with 40 votes. While Texas has been trending leftward in its urban areas, it's still a solid Republican state overall. Trump has an 89 chance of winning Texas, though. His lead in the polls is slightly narrower than it is in Florida. Even so, Texas remains a tough nut for Democrats to crack, especially with the rural and suburban vote favoring Republicans. With these likely states accounted for, Trump's electoral vote count jumps to 209, just 7 shy of Harris's 226. That leaves 93 electoral votes still up for grabs in the remaining battleground states, which are the ones we've been talking about all cycle. Now, let's turn our attention to the most competitive states, starting with Arizona. Arizona is currently considered a lean Trump state, with the former president having a 67 chance of winning. Arizona was one of the closest states in 2020, flipping blue for only the 2nd time in 70 years. Biden won it by just 0.3, largely thanks to the rapid growth and diversification of Maricopa County, which includes the Phoenix metro area. However, Arizona remains fundamentally Republican, and Trump currently leads in the polling average by 1.4.